Hello, everyone. Setting this up. And who's all going to be in here tonight. Before we begin. Yeah. Double check this. Update that. I know a fairy. Yeah, I don't know about 4 hours. I'm gonna try to get to 2 hours. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough content. If not, something might happen, madness might ensue. Hey there. How's everybody's weekend so far? I'm just doing a little bit of basic upkeep and housekeeping. Socks. Socks you would have to knit, and because you would have to knit because you need the stretch and the give, and I suck at it. I mean, I would need practice regular knitting. Not even talking about socks. Sorry that you're not feeling well. That okay. All right. So we're gonna get into this. We're gonna review. Oh, I gotta turn my light on. I did change my setup a bit, and I got a little more light that's top down, so that might help. Oh wow, that helps a lot. I still have to zoom in. Oh yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna review basic Tunisian simple stitch. Nothing like that ocean stitch from last week. We're not doing this complex stitch. Not last week. Thursday. So, real basic. This is 20 stitches, 4 hours of yarn. Hey, Cinderella. So, I'm just going to review the basic Tunisian stitch again. Then we'll get into what we're going to be working on, the main technique. So this is just a review here. So, we've done our 20 chains. So then we're just going to go into each chain separately, pull up a loop and bring it through. I think we all can agree that this is pretty simple. You go into each chain, pull up a loop, and leave it on the hook. Forward pass on simple stitch is just that, very simple. It could be, but I don't know if they have many foxes in their neighborhood. But it could be, and I mean, so again, go into each chain, and this is just a sample of 20 chains. I didn't want to do anything too involved for this sample. Getting near the end. So we got our 20 loops on the hook. Oh no, don't do that. And in Tunisian crochet, that first loop that's on your hook counts as a stitch. So in regular Tunisian simple stitch, you're going to yarn over and bring it through the first loop on the hook. And now we're going to yarn over and bring it through the next two. And then again, yarn over through the next two. This is the return pass for simple. Yes, when you chain, if you chain 20, you go into the, you don't go into the chain that's next to the hook, you go into the next one. So before you go into any stitch, when you chain, let's say I did 20 here. When we do chain 20, the loop that's on there, that is our first stitch. It's different than regular crochet. With Tunisian, that first one usually counts as a stitch. So, again, this is real simple. You go in and then go into each chain till you get to the end, and then the return pass, you're just working them off one at a time. No, not 20 plus 1. 20. So whatever, in Tunisian, whatever you chain, that's how many stitches you're going to get. In regular crochet, you would 20 and then chain 1, and that extra chain is your turning chain and does not count as a stitch. But in Tunisian, most Tunisian stitches, that first loop on your hook before you do anything, before you do any stitches after you chain, basically the last chain you make, that loop counts as a stitch. It's because we're not turning, we're not chaining and flipping, we're just going back and forth. So this is just a review from the other week when I showed this. Since Tunisian is somewhat new to probably most of my viewers. So that's one row. And the way I describe simple stitch is if you turn it like this, and maybe this isn't really going to show that well until I get more stitches. It looks like a ladder. The top and bottom rows are the, hey baby duck waddles. Yeah, it's going to curl. This is a different stitch here. And where's the other one? Okay, this is a different stitch. This is Tunisian, but it's a more complex stitch. That's the nature with Tunisian. The ends are going to curl. To help with that, when you're done your project, blocking, even though a lot of people hate blocking. And with acrylic yarn, it can be difficult to block because it's not a natural fiber. But blocking and then maybe rolling it back the other way and maybe wrapping something around it, loosely tie some yarn on it and leave it there for a day or two. Maybe that will help with it. But that's one of the downsides of Tunisian. You're going to get some curl at some point. And if you stitch tight like I do, you're going to have more curl. So again, I like to look at these as a ladder, because if you turn it this way, the chain row and your finished row are the uprights of the ladder, and each stitch are the rungs. If that kind of makes sense. So then when you do your second row, you're not going into the fabric, you're going horizontal with the fabric. Yes. If you chain 20, you should have 20 loops on your hook when you get to the end of your forward pass. Yes, it's like a rope turning into a ladder. Yeah. So our second row, and I don't know if you could see it. Where did I seem to have misplaced my double-ended knitting needle that I use as a pointer. No, it's okay. And again, at any time, everybody in here is probably regulars, even though you're irregular for most of them. If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. So I'm going to use a steel crochet hook to point. So this here, this is our vertical post. That's our edge of our fabric. So on our second row, which we're going to do our second row now, we're going to skip that, and our next vertical post, or our rung on the ladder, so imagine it's like this. This is the next rung on the ladder. We're going to go under it, but we're not going to go down into the fabric. We're going to go laterally in the fabric. The end of the first pass. Yes, okay. This is what we'll do. I'll start over. So let me start over from the very beginning. So we're going to, and again, this is real simple swatch I'm doing. So I'm going to do 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it's 20 chains for this. So if I wanted my project to be 20 stitches long, wide, I do 20 chains. So we're going to skip the very first chain, go in and bring into each chain and bring up a loop. And this is probably, when I get to the end of this row, then I'll clarify and answer your question. Okay. So we're going to count real quick. Starting at the, well, we'll start at this end. This is the hook end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we had 20 chains, and now we have 20 loops. That very first loop, when we did our first initial chain, that is the first loop. That counts as a stitch. Now for the return pass, you're going to yarn over, get it in frame, yarn over and pull through just one loop. And again, this is simple stitch for Tunisian. So for this stitch, you only pull through the first loop on the hook, and now we're going to yarn over and bring it through 2. With that yarning over and going through that first loop, that establishes our edge of the fabric. If that makes sense. Again, if it doesn't make sense, let me know. So all I did there is I just did a return pass and I finished one row. And the same page so far? Okay. So we've got 20 stitches. Yes, the first return can be a little difficult. It also might help I know if you stitch kind of tight like I do, try to train yourself to stitch a little bit looser. And that would also help with the curling issue a little bit. So now our second row, we're skipping. Yeah. It 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 will, once you get doing it, it's like a whole new world. So our second row, we're skipping this vertical bar because this is our edge of our fabric. We're not going to go, if we actually would go into that, there's a possibility you can you would actually end up increasing and making it wider. So we're going to go into this vertical rung. I'm going to call them rungs. And we're going to go under like this. If that's kind of clear. We're going to go under like this. So you're not going down in it. You're not looping up under. You're just going under the top bar. There's actually, in that rung, there's actually 2 strands. You're going through the top one. You're not going under both. So on that rung, you only go under the top rung. You just go just like that. On the back side, again, we've gone in between the different strands. Yarn over and bring it through and keep it on the hook. And you just keep doing that for each one. For each rung of the ladder, you go under the rung, yarn over, and bring it through and leave it on the hook. Notice I was getting a lot of stitches bunched up there at the end, and it was getting hard, so I just moved it like that, spread them out, and I'm holding it down here, and the hook is gonna keep it from falling off. And you just go under and you pick one up, and that's gonna come with practice. I mean, it's the same with regular crochet, trying to keep the loops on the hook. That comes with practice. But if you already know how to do traditional crochet, this shouldn't be as difficult. So we're at the end of the row, and we still have an edge. We are going to go under that edge. So the very last one, and bring it up. Because doing that will finish the edge, and it's probably not clear to see. It'll actually start to form the edge on our fabric. So again, we have 20 loops because we didn't increase or decrease. We're not doing any of that. So now we're going to yarn over, and again, bring it through the first loop, and then yarn over and bring it through the next 2. yarn over through the next 2, yarn over through the next 2. Just keep doing that until you only have 1 loop on the hook. Yeah. On the return pass, you're going to yarn over, bring it through the first loop that's on the hook. I've already done it. But you bring it through the first loop. And on all the other ones, you yarn over and bring it through the next 2 loops. And then yarn over through the next 2. Yes. The only one you don't go through 2 is your very first one on the return pass. Because again, with Tunisian, you have 2 passes for 1 row. You have your forward pass and then a return pass. And once you do the return pass, the row is done. And this is basic, simple Tunisian stitch. You want me to do one more row? Yeah, I'll do a couple more rows so you can see how the fabric is going to be formed. Again, at the beginning of the row, because we've already done 2 rows, the beginning of the row, we're going to skip this vertical rung and go under the next one. Go under, yarn over, and bring through. Now we have 2 on the hook. Yarn over, go under, yarn over, bring through, 3 on the hook. Go under the rung. You're doing each one. You're not skipping any. You're not doing anything different. You're just going under each rung in order. Yarn over, bring through. Now we have 4 on the hook. Five, and so on until you go to the end of your row and you have 20. And hello everybody who's viewing me. I've noticed my viewer count is up. I don't know if that's accurate and all, but if you're new here, welcome. We're doing simple Tunisian crochet. Okay, we're nearing the end of the row. And then when you get to the end here, you would think this is the last rung to do, but you've got that end, that it's actually a turning chain. You need to go into that to finish off that edge. We're going to go into that last chain, which is always the difficult one to get, and bring it up. Now we've got 20 loops on our hook. I gotta move this so I can see. So again, that's our forward pass. Now we're doing a return pass. Yarn over, bring through the first loop on the hook. And that's establishing the edge of the right edge of the fabric. Now we're going to yarn over and bring through 2. Yarn over, bring through 2, and so on. It's a real easy pattern to remember because you're just The only thing you got to remember is how you deal with the ends. That was the return pass. Now we're going to do another row. Again, skip that edge, and under the next rung, go under that rung, yarn over, and bring another up on the hook, which we have 2 on the hook. Get it. It definitely gets much easier when you get to the 3rd and 4th rows, because the fabric is more to hold on to, and the fabric is a little more open at this point. I'm going to do a few more rows, and then I will transition to the main part of the string. You want to make certain that everybody is on board and understands how this stitch is done. So we've gone to the last rung, but then we got to do that edge so it's square. And doing that edge is not the easiest. I hate that part, but we got it. So again, our forward pass, we've got 20 loops on the hook. Yep, because you're establishing it, and once you keep going, it gets easier. So we got to the end of the forward pass. To do the return pass, you're going to yarn over, bring through 1, and again, yarn over and bring through 2. So I think we're clear on how this stitch is made. The other thing I want to show you, now it's only a couple rows, but you can see the rows are all lined up evenly vertically and horizontally. So they kind of form little boxes. And if I kind of stretch it a bit, you can kind of, there you go, you can see through it. There, definitely it forms little boxes. And then if you wanted to, once you're done your whole, however long you're going to make it, you can go back and cross stitch with it. You can do other types of things by adding other fabrics and using those holes and treat it as like embroidery. I guess there's other type of things you can do too. So that's the front side. And the back side looks like that. So there is a right and a wrong side to most Tunisian stitches. So that's the back side. And that's the front. Right? Understand how it's put together? We're ready, then I can swap out chain tail. What do you mean? Oh, the tail when I started? It's just normal. It's just a normal a tail when you start crochet. Like, just normal. We do a slip knot and then you do your chain. So it's, when you're all done, you're going to take this and then weave it back in. It's not, there's nothing different than that compared to regular crochet. because right here, this edge here is my chain, my original chain edge for when I first started. You might have got it wedged in with the stitches as you're stitching. That's actually fine, because if your tail, if the knot part of the chain is down here, and if the tail's up in there, then you're weaving in your edge, your tails as you're going along. There's nothing wrong with that. And if I was really concentrating on it, I could do that. I could incorporate it in there so I don't have to go back and weave in my ends. I do that a lot with regular crochet. I'll weave in my tails as I go. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Okay, so we're going to put that to the side. Oh, before we do that, I'm going to go over, hey, yeah, happy little accident, as what Bob Ross would probably say. So, again, what we're going to end up doing tonight, is, let's zoom out. Our hook is only so long. And I know we've talked about, if you're going to do a wider project, some options. You can get the Tunisian hooks with the long cords and the bead. I don't have one of those. I've got stuff to make one, like I mentioned the other night. I don't have the cord part. But I'm going to show you how to do it. And I can't get this all in frame because I'll show you how to do it if you have a double-ended crochet hook. And I will go slow with this. I prepared a chain of 100 stitches. This would work for 100 stitches, because you could only get so many on here. But let's say you had a blanket that was 200, 300 chains wide. You're not going to get all that on a hook. So we've got our chain. I wasn't going to sit here and have you watch me change 100 stitches. We're going to do this exactly the same like we just did with the other hook. So we're going to go into the chain, and it's always the second chain from the hook, go in, pick up a loop, and leave it on the hook. Okay? Obviously, I can't do all 100 stitches, so we're going to use this in segments. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Okay. So out of all of those 100 chains, I only did 25. I could do a little more, but that fills up most of the hook. Believe me, it fills up most of the hook. So now what we're going to do is we need a ball of yarn in the same color. I mean, you could do another color if you wanted your rows to look different. But we got an identical ball of yarn. This is my second ball of yarn. And what we're going to do, so here's our chain. So we're working in this direction. So we're going to stop working that direction, and we're going to slide all of our chains to the other end of the double-ended crochet hook. Again, this hook is it's got a hook on both ends. So we're going to slide it through the other side and then flip it because I'm right-handed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on this end. We're going to work them in segments. So we're going to take our tail of our second ball of yarn. The first ball is still attached. Okay, this tail is from our original ball of yarn. That's still attached. We're going to get our second tail, and you could do a slip knot if you want. I'm just going to do a loop. So we're going to do our return pass for these stitches, even though we haven't finished the rest of it yet. So we're going to, when you do simple Tunisian, when you do a return pass, you yarn over. That's essentially your yarn over. We've got a loop on the hook, and we'll bring it through the first stitch, the first loop. Okay? Now we're going to yarn over and bring it through 2. Whoops. Bring it through 2. Yarn over and bring it through 2. So each time we're yarning over and bringing through 2, we're taking one loop off of the hook. So then that will let us, when we go to this, I have a bamboo hook and there's a burr on it, so it's going to snag. So when we're taking one loop off the hook gradually from this end, it's going to allow us to do more stitches on the other end to finish our actual row. Hope this is making sense. I need to get some sandpaper. I'm not a big fan of these hooks because they're bamboo. Again, I'm on this end, I was doing our forward pass. Since I can't get them all on the hook, I only do it in segments, slide them to the other end, and do a return pass and finish the entire row in increments. And we're just doing yarning over and pulling through 2 loops. I'm going to do it until I only have 2 loops on the hook. So now I have more room. So those 20-some stitches are done for the first row. We don't got to worry about that row anymore. So now we flip it, move everything to the other end of the hook. We're back to the original chain. So back to the original chain, we're going into the chain, pulling up, and getting a loop. We got 3, 4, 5, and so on. You can do however many you want. However many that's going to fill your hook, depending how long your double-ended crochet hook is. And again, this is if you don't have a Tunisian hook with a long cord. Just another alternative, because I don't have those, and I happen to have double-ended hooks. Again, have I lost anybody? Does that concept make sense? So instead of doing all 100 or 200 or however long, you work them in batches. So I've done however many, I didn't count. So now we're going to slide it to the other end, flip because I'm right-handed, and that's already there. So this is my second. This happens to be my second ball of yarn. So now all I got to do is yarn over, bring through 2 on that one. Yarn over through 2. We're not going into the chain for that end of the hook. We're finishing it with that. So basically one end is forward to pass and the other end is return pass. I got to get some sandpaper or something for there's a slight burr on the end of that, the hook part. And then that way, I mean, if you have one of the ones with a long cord, I mean, if you make it yourself, you can make the plastic, whatever cording, as long as you want. But if you have one, you buy one, and it's a set length, well, even if that is too short, I mean, it doesn't have to be the width of... Now I got that jingle in my head. If you have one of the corded ones, like the one in the picture, that cord doesn't have to be the width of your project, because you can bunch up all of your loops on the cord. So if you want your blanket, you're making a blanket, let's say if you want that to be 4 feet wide, you don't necessarily have to have a 4 foot long cord. You can have a little bit shorter. I mean, I would always err a little bit longer. But if you don't want to worry about keeping a place to store all of that, because you got to worry about that cord and it get tangled and coil it up, the other option is to do this, do a double-ended crochet hook. One is not better than the other. It's just a different technique. Yes. Thank you for... Hey there, MD. Well, your name is difficult to pronounce. I don't know where this... Okay, speaking of which, you would actually be the person that might... Well, maybe might know. I don't know why it's called Tunisian. This is a Tunisian crochet hook. It's basically a long crochet hook with a stopper on the end. I don't know if it comes from Tunisia. I don't know. I'm theorizing. I'm just throwing this out there. Crochet. The word crochet is French for hook. Okay? And in history, at one time, Tunisia was a French colony. So I don't know if it was a unique and different type stitch and they wanted it to sound exotic. And at the time, Tunisia was a colony and it was exotic. I don't know. Or maybe it does actually come from Tunisia. I'm not certain. That's just what it's called. So now I'm just working the end off, and I've got... Oops. Oh, we almost lost it. That's one thing is on the return pass, you better be careful not lose your stitches. That's where it is it has similarities to knitting. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. 2. I got 2 on the hook. Now I'm going to stop and put those back to the other end to my forward pass. Yeah, Grammy's not that talented. So speaking of wine, I got a funny story to tell you. So earlier this morning, I woke up and getting everything together and taking my medicine. And I got here on Twitch. And again, what I'm doing now is I'm just going through the chain and pulling up loops, the forward pass of Simple Tunisian. So anyway, I was on Twitch and I did a search of, oh God, she does not need one of those. I went on Twitch and was searching people that were live. Okay, well, that if it's true, then that's where it came from. But like it said, it's obscure. So I was on Twitch and searching the makers and creators section and just seeing who was live and if there was anything I was interested in. And I stumbled across a stream. Oh my God. It was a hoot. Down below, it's, well, I don't know what mine says. I think it's saying crochet lesson, double crochet hook technique, double-ended crochet hook technique for Tunisian, whatever. Okay. Well, the name of her, the stream that she was doing, it said massive phallus. And I'm like, what is going on? You can't do nudity on Twitch. So I'm like, what is this about? And I saw her had some yarn and she had a crochet hook. And I'm like, what? So I clicked on it. Oh my God. She's my kind of people. It's a girl in England. She's in her 30s, I think. And she was saying, and I was watching, just talking to her and everything. There was a lot of people in her stream. She's been streaming for a few years now. During the beginning of the pandemic, she came across a crochet kit, like teach yourself how to crochet, and she taught herself how to crochet. And since then, she's been making things and doing commission work and all this other stuff, and like a lot of three-dimensional, like dragons and animals and stuff like that. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm going to stop and I'm going to the other end and to do the return pass. So what she was doing, she was crocheting a penis wine bottle holder for her father's birthday coming up the end of February. She said her father is a wine taster and she's run out of ideas of gifts to get him. So she designed the pattern on stream and she's doing all of this. And the penis puns and jokes were rampant all over the stream. And she was just like laughing and she was like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, and I was one I said, you mean ridiculous? And it's going on and it was real basic tube. And then at the top, she ended up doing this thing. She crocheted it so there was like eyelets that you could put a ribbon through to a drawstring. And then she was like, I'm gonna make a hood because this is the optional foreskin. So she made a foreskin. It was all blue. And then she said Wednesday on her stream, she's going to be doing the testicles, but they're going to be in purple. I said, why not blue, as in blue balls? She said, no, not for my father. I'm like, oh, okay. And she said something about she's going to end up making a pocket in one of the testicles for the cork. So if you don't finish it, you could put, yeah. So we were going on, and everybody we were having a good time. And her type of humor is my type of humor. And, so I said, again, this is the first time I was ever on her chat. I had never came across her stream before. And actually, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to I'm going to paste her, that's her Twitch. Her name is Maisie. And so in the chat, I was like, so like, what what would you call a group of penises? And everybody's saying all different things, and I was like, it wouldn't be a herd. My stream is going off the rails tonight. And it's just me. And I came up with the idea. I said, what about a turgid of penises? And she was like, I like that. And then somebody said, how about a bag of dicks and a bunch of other different things. So I was like, I could picture it now. Imagine David Attenborough. He's the English guy who does all the nature programs. He's been doing it forever. Imagine David Attenborough on location saying the phrase, a turgid of penises. Yeah, but she said that that's what she's making for her father, and she actually posted pictures, and I thought it was pretty funny. I was rolling on the floor laughing. Hey! No, the moderator cannot moderate the host. I would never do it, but I actually said in her stream, I was like, I need to make one of those for my mom. My mom likes wine, and she's got a dark sense of humor. I'm not going to make you a penis wine bottle cozy. Okay. I'm doing the same thing I did a forward pass, and now we're going to stop and do a return pass. We only got a couple more chains left. Oh, and if you're still watching, Mandy, thank you for the follow. She would never do that. She would never waste wine. I'm just going to do a couple more. Well, I'm going to finish this row, and then I'll show you what it's going to look like. It's going to look like regular Tunisian. It's just one row because it's 100 stitches. So just with any type of blanket, it's going to take time because there's more stitches involved. Okay, now we're going to go to the back to the beginning. I don't know if they have official name. Maybe they're just extended Tunisian crochet hooks or corded ones. I don't know. I don't know if they have an official name. I've never used one, but I mean it's just a place to hold your stitches. So you're gonna crochet the same way. It just holds more stitches. So okay, now I'm at the end. So I'm at the end of the row, but instead of doing the return pass here, I'm always going to do the return pass on the other end of the hook. So when you have a double-ended, one end is a dedicated forward pass, and the other one is a dedicated return pass. And it's just a couple more stitches left because I'm right here at the end. If it didn't have that burr on it, it would go a little bit better. And I couldn't find any metal. Well, I could find some metal double-ended crochet hooks, but they were either a pack of one, or they were weird. They were like they were double-ended, but they had a different size on each end. So I guess it's like a compact set of regular crochet hooks, because that wouldn't really work if you're doing Tunisian. Okay, we're at the end here. So we've got one row, and that's not the best. There's some loose stitches. Oh, is that an octopus? So we've got a row, a finished row of Tunisian crochet. Now, to do the next row, oh, the Kraken. To do the next row, okay, you're at the end here. Well, how would I do this? Okay. So with the next row, we got a loop here. This yarn is from the one ball and not her tail, but this yarn is from the other tail, from the other ball. Well, we're going to ignore that one for a second. We're going to do a forward pass just like we would normally do. With regular Tunisian crochet. You get a bunch of stitches. I'm just going to do that much. I mean, I could put more on the hook. Do that much. And then we go to the other end. And then we pick up that loop, yarn over, and bring it through one. And then yarn over through two. So on this row, on the first row, this ball of yarn was our return pass. And the other ball that's off camera was our forward pass. On this row, they switch. It's just whatever's closest to the hook. It doesn't really matter. This, just double checking something. Yeah, we're good. Oops. Work back a stitch. So now we bring it to the other end and flip. And you're working with multiple balls of yarn, so they could get a little tangled, but that's easy to work out. So that part of those stitches have already been done for the second row. And then you just pick up for the forward pass. I stitched those a little bit weird on that. My tension was a little loose on those couple stitches. But it's just a little sample project. Yep, you want to try to get as loose as possible. That didn't sound right. Anyway. No, I'm not giving anybody any advice. No, nobody. But you've done 6 rows. You see how kind of easy the simple stitch is? I mean, you're doing it that way. You're not using a double-ended hook, but it's really not that difficult. It's not complex. This stitch is not. It's just pretty basic. Yeah, I really don't like these double-ended hooks because they're made out of bamboo. I don't like bamboo crochet hooks. Knitting needles might be okay, but again, I'm not a knitter. Yep. Well, just like regular crochet, practice, practice, practice. You know what? Thursday, I need to pick a different color yarn. I'm tired of this green. It's also the mat is green, and I gotta find something that's gonna show up pretty good on camera for everybody. I gotta. Well, I don't want a real dark yarn because you won't be able to see the stitches, and I don't want white because it gets washed out. So I gotta come up with something. Might have something around here that might work. That beige was a little difficult, a little washed out. So we do a bunch of stitches, however many that you want, and then again you keep flipping. You just work back and forth. Well, I don't know if I have one that color, and if I did, I probably don't have enough. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You because you're using 2 balls of yarn, you can easily do one in one and one in the other. Yeah, you could definitely do a 2-tone. Your row would have the 2 colors. I don't know about that. No, it's not Mexicana. It's the dark rainbow, like North Fairy's rap sheet. Remember? Remember the little rap? I'm not going to repeat the rap. But yeah, you could definitely do 2 different colors, one for the forward and one for the reverse, if you're doing double-ended. And then that would look really cool if you had like complementary colors that were like not necessarily opposites on the color wheel, but like different shades of like blues or purples or whatever. And they would kind of almost make a tweed type effect, but not really. Um, Actually, when I get to the end of this row, I could do it tonight. So we flip, because I'll just pick up a new color yarn. Yeah, let me finish this row, and I got some gray. I'll do the gray and the green. Oh yeah, but definitely depend on the purpose of the finished item. I mean, and same thing with any Tunisian crochet. Even if you're using an actual standard hook, each row doesn't have to be the same color. You can switch colors at any time. If I wanted to, the temperature blanket I could do in Tunisian stitches. Let's get to the end of the return pass and change color. Well, it is, but you don't have to do cross stitch on it. If you just want it just to be Tunisian, to do like a Tunisian stitch blanket, and just leave it as that, and not do any cross stitch. Or you could do, if you wanted to do it like that with the cross stitch, do two tones, similar tones of the same color, like two shades of blue that are close to each other. And then when you go back and do cross stitch, it could look like the night sky. Like a dark, if you do dark blues, or it could look like the daytime sky, or whatever. Um, yeah, well, yes. If, for instance, if you're making a blanket and all the stitches are tight, you're going to have more stitches in it to get that finished length. So that is going to add some weight to it. Like, for instance, well, I'm not going to weigh these with an actual scale, but these are roughly the same size in dimension, roughly. This is the ocean stitch, Tunisian ocean stitch, and it's a dense fabric. And it's, I mean, it's not heavy, heavy, but it definitely has some weight. This is the Irish stitch from the other day. Again, this is crochet. We're comparing apples and oranges, but it still weighs. This one has a little bit minor amounts of more weight than the Irish stitch because there's more air in it. Air is a lot lighter than yarn. This has hardly any open holes in it. Okay, what was I? Oh, I got to go back to the forward. Wait, yeah, the forward pass. Yes, I've never done one. Um, corner to corner is a type of a graphican. Well, it can be. I'd have to do a lot of planning for that because there's all different types of graphican. Basically, graphican is an Afghan that you plan out with a graph, with like a chart. And you could do that with granny squares. And it makes a picture. I'm assuming that's... Okay, yeah, you could do that. Either way, you would need a graph to visualize where all of the stitches are going to go. So if it's Tunisian, if it's a graph again, like a corner to corner, or if you're going to do crochet granny squares together. I don't know how well the granny squares are going to would work for that. Or there's another technique which debating whether or not showing, because it is a pain in the butt. I'll show it here in a second when I get to the end of this row. I want to finish this row. Gnomes? You sent me gnomes? But yeah, I'm gonna when I get to the end of, I'm gonna finish this, completely finish this row. I'll have to check it. Let me just do this return pass of this row, and then I'll go into this project that I made a couple of years ago, and I had to use a graph. I don't know if I still have the graph I used, or if I threw it away. No, I have a digital file of it. That thing was a pain to do. But let me get these couple stitches. Okay, we've got 2 rows done. Okay. So that's our 2 rows of extra wide Tunisian crochet. So that's our front side. Again, it's not going to really show much with only 2 rows, and then our back side. Okay. Let me pull this up and see where I have it. Possibly it. Okay. So, years ago, I made a blanket for a friend of mine. And I did this. The black and gray rows all the way around is regular, I think it was single stitch, and then increase in the corners. The center gray area and the Batman logo, I had to use a graph and the lettering. I had to use a graph, and this is something called Antarsha. And I would do rows back in regular crochet, back and forth. But when you get to a row where it's got 10 gray, and then 6 yellow, 2 gray, 5 yellow, you have to make little, basically bobbins of yarn. You take little short lengths of yarn, a yard or 2 at a time, and I would put them on a clothespin, wrap them on a clothespin, and clip it. And you'd have these little short ones where you do the, like you start on the end, you do the gray, and you follow the graph, however many stitches, and then when you switch to yellow, you do the yellow, but you have it still connected, and then you bring up, and you have the gray still connected. So when when you're working them together, when you transition from the gray to the yellow, you're carrying the gray along with the yellow, but it's inside the stitches. You kind of stitch them in together so you can't see it. So on the back, yes, the name would be backwards, but you wouldn't see extra strands traveling and they would get snagged. So you do that for six yellow, and then you switch it. You hide the yellow and you bring up the gray, and you keep doing all of that. And yeah, the lettering works fine. It's just, this is on a small scale, so it didn't really look the best, and you could see there was some yellow poking through. It was my first time doing Intarsia, and these rows here, like in this part, the bottom part of the bat wing, you do however many gray, then two black, however many yellow, one or two black, and then a bunch of yellow, one or two black. It was a nightmare. I'd have separate bobbins of black because I didn't want to have all my bobbin and then travel the black through the yellow over 10, 15 stitches. I'd have a separate one, and that would, more intricate patterns would, it drives me crazy. Doing the lettering, I think I'd be okay. And then after I got all that done, I was like, you know what? The rest of it, it's just getting concentric rows all the way around. I didn't have enough yellow to put in the blanket, so I just had enough to do the border. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Intarsia. There's a type of stitching in knitting that's similar called Fair Isle. It does the same type of thing where you travel your yarn through a couple stitches so it makes separate blocks. No, never again. Okay, we wanted to do a different color. So our different color is going to be gray. So we're still going to use this green. We're going to forget about the other green. So we got just one ball of green. Yeah, for that, I just did the gray part here, like the background of, I did the bat symbol, the letters, and the gray is the background of it. I did that first. So it was X amount big. That was all Intarsia. Everything else was just crocheting rounds all the way around and around and around. But the center part here that you see here in gray with the name and the symbol, I did that first. He said he liked it because he's a Batman fan, but a lot of work went into that. And it's only like a small little Afghan. It's not like a big, huge, full-size blanket. It's pretty small. My ball of yarn. We got yarn barf. Bear with me, y'all. Yeah, I said y'all. There's a knot in it. I'm trying to find the end. I should have picked a different color. The end. I gotta rewind this cake at some point. That's why I screwed myself over by wrapping it weird. I think that's enough for now. So we're going to start just like we did normally with Tunisian. And let's go into here. Yeah, just like regular crochet. Oh, that streamer I saw earlier today, and they were talking about something about ha having it work or whatever, and trying to get it to fit or whatever. And I didn't know, and I should have known because I'm a crocheter. I used a bad word in her stream. I was okay for me to say phallus and penis and all of the girth and all this stuff, but I said the word gauge. And I thought she was joking, but she was like, "That's a bad word. We don't say that in my stream." She was joking. Same thing with basic crochet. If you crochet tight, go up a hook. If you crochet loose, go down a hook. If you want it to be a certain size. Blankets, you don't really have to be a certain size because it's not a fitted garment. But if you do want the blanket to be a certain size, for most things you don't really need gauge. If it's a fitted thing, like around a wine bottle, or a sweater, or socks, you kind of need gauge. Because you use a hook and you're following a pattern, and let's say you're making a pair of socks, well, for an adult sock, your sock is only that big around. Well, if it won't stretch, that ain't going to fit. A blanket, a scarf, you're good. You don't really have to worry about gauge. But yeah, she was like, that's a bad word. It's a pain. It's a pain to make a swatch, and I mean, I did do a swatch gauge for the temperature blanket, just so I could figure it out and make certain it wasn't going to be way too big or too small, and mainly to get so my rows weren't going to be so long, like 365, that I wasn't going to have a blanket from here down the block. Okay. Back to this, we're going to add the second color, but first we're going to do our forward pass. Okay, I'm going to bunch on the hook, slide it on down, flip, get our second color, put it on the hook, yarn over through one because it's the beginning of the forward pass, tighten up our tails, yarn over, and then bring through two. And again, yarn over through two. Hate bamboo hooks. So that's what it's going to look like on one side. And then on the other side, it's going to look like this. It's going to be at the top of the row. It'll show up more when we do the another row on top of it. So now we'd go to the other end, do our chain, because, well, not our chain, our forward pass. So we switch. You know what? This actually might be Tell you what we're going to do. Instead of doing it on this, actually no, would have to do it like this. Never mind, I was thinking out loud and thought process wasn't working right. Do a bunch of stitches. Let's say we did 50 stitches again. Slide it down. And now we're doing the return pass of this segment. So, doing the return pass puts that thread, that yarn, at the top of the row. That kind of shows you how the stitch is structured. You know what? When I'm doing this, I just realized that. Oops. Hey, Daniel. Okay, I just realized something, and when I did the second row, since I was flipping, my thumbs are on the first row. This is the second row. So the second row is actually the back side of the stitch, and then this is the third row. Oh, nice. I would love to see that. So I kind of screwed this up a little bit. But it's like the first row is the front side. On this side of the fabric. The first row is the right side stitches, and then this is the back side, and then that's the front side. You wouldn't have this issue if you're using a cabled hook. I gotta look into that, into why that is. It's like every other row is going to be the correct side. I don't know if you could tell, because there's like this row here where my thumbs are, you've got the vertical bars, the rungs, and you got them here on this, but at this middle row, you don't. Yeah, I'll have to investigate. Yeah, I think it has to do with the turning. Now keep in mind, I don't use double-ended crochet hooks that often. So I'm kind of learning myself. I mean, it might make a cool looking stitch where every other row looks different. But there's got to be a way, I think there is a way, that you could make it all look like regular Tunisian. That involves more research on my end. Maybe that's something we'll do in the future, is figure that out. Nose itches from all this fiber. I'm assuming, well, I know, the couple people in here that I know personally that crochet mostly work with acrylics. And I work with acrylics too. Um, I do have some. There might be one or two balls of wool. I know I've got some cotton, and mostly the yarn you're going to find at a big box store is going to be acrylics and some cottons and some blends with nylon or polyester. You'll find some blends that have wool in them. I think I only have one or two balls that's pure wool. Those here locally in the Maryland area. Yes, I'm in Maryland, which most people in here know that. um, those of you who I know personally, suggestion, and this is aimed more at. Okay. Okay. Why do you hate it? It's a good question. Because I kind of have an idea. Okay, I know that's why. Okay. Most likely it's not because of the fiber. Yes, there are some wools, and when I'm saying wool, I'm saying sheep, rabbit, goat, alpaca, any animal fiber. When I say wool, that's what I'm talking about. There are coarser fibers than others. Most likely the itchiness does not come from the fiber. It comes from residual lanolin that has not completely been removed. That's why a lot of people think that that wool from sheep is itchier than Angora rabbit, because Angora rabbit doesn't have lanolin. Certain breeds have more lanolin than others. Again, I'm not going to go into all the details about all of that because I'm not an expert on wool fibers and all. I know some basic stuff. Okay. So my question is, and it's probably aimed at a very small amount of my viewers, maybe like one or two people. And with the case that Cinderella doesn't like wool, that counts her out. Coming up in May is the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. Would that be something that anybody would like to go to? I've never been. I've heard it's one of the better ones. Not that I'm going to really buy anything. I really can't afford any of that. But it'd be cool to see all the stuff that they have. If not, that's cool too. Okay. It's real close by. It's at the Howard County Fairgrounds here in Maryland. It's usually every May. So it's not like it's that far away. And they have all different they have animals there. They've got demonstrations of all different types. They've got stuff you can buy. You could buy whole fleeces. You could buy wool roving, which that's a totally different thing. We'll talk about that more on my stream in the future. Even if it's something that nobody actually does, it's just interesting part of the scheme of crochet and knitting and weaving and crafts and all. You could buy rovings and fleeces and different types of wool. Well, I don't know if you could buy any of the meat there because it's a sheep and wool festival and it's to promote the fibers and the local ranchers and farmers. And primarily, they don't raise them I mean, when they're old, yeah. They don't really raise them to kill them, because if you kill them, then there is no wool. Anyway, I know you can get like spinning wheels and stitch markers and oh no curry. But yeah, it's usually it's in the spring, and that's where most, not all, that's where most sheep and wool festivals are in. Oh, did I mess up? Oh yeah, I messed up. They're mostly in the spring because that's shearing time. Okay, well, I'm not going to go on and on about this here, but you kind of get the idea of adding another color. When you would go back to do the other pass, it would incorporate it. If that kind of makes sense. I'd have to do a smaller sample to show the color. Which I could do that, actually. Let me do that. Let me frog all this out. Well, at least the gray. We're not going to use the green anymore. I'm going to frog out the gray and then use this beige. And we will come back to we'll do the double hook with two colors, but I'll do a smaller, let's do a smaller sample. Okay, we're only going to do a sample of 10 stitches. Okay, I only clipped off 3 and those were thrown away. The rest of it's still attached. We are not visiting the silkworms again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay? So we're just doing 10 chains, and we're doing our forward pass, picking up a loop into each chain, like regular ordinary Tunisian. We're definitely not doing the pink silkworms. But yeah, I'll get more information on when that festival is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 9 chains. That's fine. We're going to do 9 chains. So now we're going to go, even though it's the full length of my project, I'm going to go to the other end, and we're going to add the second color. Yarn over, pull through 1. Yarn over, through 2. This is just so it's a little bit quicker to show what it's going to look like when we add two colors. Tighten it up. So there's our one row. That's the front of our work. You can see the rungs of the ladders in gray. One side of the ladder is beige, the other one's gray. That's the back. So now what we're going to do, and I think that's where I was going wrong. I was flipping it too much. I think that's where I messed up. So now, again, front of the work, we're going to go under the gray and picking up the loop. And this time we're picking up the beige for our second row. I think that's where I went wrong, is I turned it too many times and ended up doing it backwards. Even I make mistakes. So now, put it at the other end, we will flip it here and pull up the gray and do the same return pass. And since I flipped it, that's this row, this here. Thank you for the follow. This area here where I just did, that's the back side. So I got to remember to flip it back over. And when I do that, how do I get to that end? You know, this is going to take a little thought. If I do it that way, it's going to do it. If I stitch it that way, it's going to take it on the, going to make it on the wrong side. This right here is the right side of the fabric, but we normally would need the hook at that end. We've got it at this end. I got to do more research on this. Because I don't want my rows to alternate. I want all of my the right sides to be on all one side and the wrong sides to be on another. I mean, if I do it this way, yeah, because if I do it this way, I'm going to be, that's going to form a stitch where the wrong side is on, where the back is going to be on the front, and I don't want the back on the front. Gotta, and both of my working yarns are on the left. I need one of them on the right. Yeah, I'll have to spend more time trying to understand how all that works. It's making me think and giving me a headache. Fine, but I gotta start at this end. But all of my tails. Anyway, I'm not gonna think about it tonight. we'll just have to end up go to Tunisian with a 5mm hook. It all depends on each person and the stitch. Same thing with regular crochet. It depends on the stitch. If you normally use a 5mm hook with worsted weight yarn, there might be some stitches that are more intricate that you would need a bigger hook to use or a smaller hook. Because when you get yarn, and I don't like the way they have this one written. When you get yarn and you've got the information and then know it's blurry, and it will give you it'll say what hook to use. This is just a recommendation. So this is a bad example. It's that pink yarn. They're saying to use a K-hook. Well, the other night when I was using it, K-hook wouldn't work. I needed to use like an L or an N hook. I needed a bigger hook. So it's not only it's what the yarn recommends, but also the pattern. So since you're not using a pattern, you might have to play with it. So what works for you might not work for someone else. And the same thing goes with Tunisian. If it's a lot better with a 7mm, then use a 7mm. It's not necessarily that you always use a bigger hook in Tunisian. That can change. And again, and I'm going to use the bad word, that's where gauge comes into play. But we're not using that bad word. Since it was a bad word in someone else's, in, what's her name? Maisie's stream this morning, I'm not going to say it in my stream. And we'll leave it at that. Okay, I got a mess of yarn here that I'm going to try to clean up if I can while on stream. I got major yarn barf. Why did I do this? See, I got this, and I pulled stuff out of the center, and I shouldn't have, but I didn't realize that it was wrapped around the outside. So the last little bit of my stream, we'll play with yarn barf. And no, I'm not streaming for 4 hours, nor Fairy. So, how's everyone's... Yeah, I just got done frogging a whole bunch of hats and scarves that I had made for years. And most of it was easy. But when I was doing some of these hats that I made with eyelash and novelty yarns, I end up having a lot of knots and tangles that I had to deal with. Did you know, and I just found out this the other day, and I guess people have no time have nothing to do in their lives, but there are people, and I don't know if you find it on sites like Ravelry. I can't say that word. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Ravelry. Ravelry is a site for knitters, crocheters, other crafts, but mainly knitting and crocheting. And you could get patterns, some free, some you pay for. You could sell patterns. Sometimes they have some tools that you could purchase and some supplies or whatever. And I think I heard, this is what I heard the other day, and I don't know if it's a section on Ravelry, but I know there's other sites that have it, where if you've got a really bad tangled up thing of yarn, you pay for shipping to send that to these people, and they will untangle them for free. All you have to do is pay for shipping. And people get enjoyment untangling and unknotting people's yarn. And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. You untangle it. Say if I was doing that, somebody would send it to me. I sit there and untangle it, wind it up into a ball, and send it back to them. Okay, yeah, but I mean, I understand the process of untangling it. It's like solving a puzzle. And I can do it if I take my time. There's different things you have to do to it. You have to be very gentle. You can't pull hard. You just take your time, and you can try to work it back in the path it came from, and all of that. But the thing is, the big no is no cutting. Like, don't cut it. Yeah, because exactly. I guess, yeah. But no, I'm not going to untangle people's yarn bar for them. I mean, if I'm hanging out with anybody and we're crocheting and they have a bad knot, I'll help them with it. But it's not like, oh, give me all your yarn barf and let me fix it. I guess. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna end up rolling this all into a big ball and then eventually put it into a cake. This is good content. I don't know. Or needed like your yes, needed if you're like if you, are they called the unbarfers? I don't know. Yeah, while I'm doing this, let me close that out. And Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. The 50th annual Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival will be May 6th and 7th. One of the largest of its kind. Over 250 vendors, over 600 sheep, 40 workshops. Debarfing, yeah. Let's see, they have contests, free demos and events, shows and sales, activities, fiber arts workshops, shepherd like the dogs, entertainment like musical entertainment and food. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if there's other people in here currently that outside of Maryland. But people in the wool and spinning and crocheting and knitting and weaving arts, they will travel to different festivals. So even if they're not from, I don't think they have any rum. I don't think they have any sheep rum. But yeah, they'll travel out of state to other festivals. And from what I've heard, a lot of different YouTubers and things I've read online, Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival is one of the more popular ones. Let's see. I'm just looking at it real quick. Photo gallery. Oh, Norferry. Um, last year, I think it was last year, maybe it was last year, or a previous year, they had food. They had a lamb cooking demonstration. I didn't know that. I mean, I know they have food, snacks, and all, but I didn't know it was. Yeah, they had a live lamb cooking them. It's a video on YouTube from it, and they show shearing, and they have somebody working looks like a jack loom or a counterbalance loom. I know they have spinning. Let's see. Let me look at this real quick. Well, they might have barbecue sauce there to purchase. Who knows? Oh, oh, that's for 2022. I don't know if they're going to do it again. 2022. Participant shearers are bringing all the talent, sculpt beautiful create. Come to the ring Saturday noon to see living works of art. In 2022, they had an early medieval living history encampment with reenactors showing it how it was done in Scandinavian Celtic regions between the years 800 and 1000. Oh, a sherry reduction. I'm just trying to check something. But yeah, that was 2022. I don't know if they're gonna still have a medieval encampment. Okay. Each day it's $10 admission for adults. Anyone under 18 is free. No pets, of course, because there's animals. I like lamb in a gyro. Exactly. Peter with tzatziki. He married the girl if he wants a sherry reduction. Wait, you know how to make a sherry reduction? Or you meant marry the wrong girl? Yeah, I was gonna say. Can't picture you making a sherry reduction. Let's see here. Yeah, they're going to have tons and tons of stuff to do and see there. Wow. I didn't need to know that, Nor Fairy. Yeah, they'll have music. All different cool things. So just something to keep in mind. It's coming up in a few months. What's free events and demos? Free's always good. They're going to talk about a featured breed because there's all different types of breeds of sheep, and they're all bred for different qualities for different types of wool. Um, Fiber arts, oh, there's a free class on the basics of cheese making. Oh, um, well, I don't know if it's going to curl up again. Um, let's say block it, but blocking a blanket is very difficult to do because it's very large, and trying to find a place to do that, and blocking acrylic doesn't really work that well. So you might end up still having curl. And with any crochet, over time, that curled up finished product will relax. Things will stretch and move, and it's not going to stay curled forever. Now I got yarn knots, cheese curls. Yes, yes, Grammy. Nor Fairy can hook up with an unbarfing girl or a debarfing girl. Okay. Then they're gonna have well, I don't. This was for last year. They had a wool fashion show, creative sheep breeds, sheepdog demonstrations, shearing demonstrations, spinning demonstrations. La 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 la. If I wasn't able to talk about that stringer's penis wine cozy from this morning, then Nor Fairy, you can't talk about moving fingers in a creative way. Let's see what else we've got. Actually, you know what? So this is the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. Yeah, like I know it's all text. Okay. Well, where was the Find it now. Oh, right here. Let's watch a little bit of this. We're not going to watch too much. Scrub through it a bit. Yeah, they're showing how to prepare the lamb. I can't show the whole video, and also the audio's not going. Yeah, they're butchering it. So yeah. Let's see what else we've got. I don't know if it's an actual butcher, but it was somebody butchering it. I don't know. So I would love to watch the whole shearing process. I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, hacksaw. I mean, you got to cut through all that bone and stuff. think that's a jack loom that she's working on. And in the background is a traditional style spinning wheel. And then this lady is working on it's an upright spinning wheel. They basically do the same things, almost the same, but slightly different. Just a thought, seeing how it's coming up soon. And it ties into all this fun and hilarity. Okay, I think I'm going to end the stream here soon. Let me just put away my hooks. Yeah, like I said, it is the 6th and 7th. I'm pretty certain that that's a weekend. It's the first weekend in May. Yeah, okay. Well, did you want to fill in for me and do the last 2 hours? Well, if you streamed, there's something, and I don't know how to do it. There's a thing called a raid, where what I will do is I would put into my chat saying, okay, everybody raid North Fairy's channel, and as soon as I signed off, you'd automatically go to his channel and be watching him or whoever you're going to raid, and that's one way to get more followers. I've never been raided, which I'm okay if somebody raids me, but you can be a guest star. I think I don't know how all that works. There is a way that, well, I don't know. You can stream video games. You can make something. They have, cooking videos, workout videos. What else? Let's see real quick. Games in real life, like vlogs or podcasts. If you do your own music, you have to make your own music. Chatting, you could do hair chatting, hair braiding, rum tasting. Yes, all of that. Actually, they have 5 main categories here in Twitch. Actually, those are the main categories. We got games, in real life, music, esports, and creative. Well, in creative, let's look. I'm not going to really show much of this, but let's see. And I can't see anything right now. Yeah, nobody's doing anything right now. But there have been people that have sat there and built Lego sets. Yeah, or just chatting. A lamb reduction. Yes. Seriously. If you had a channel, or whoever wants a channel, I'd follow you and watch you. There are people that do drink on stream. There are no rules behind that. Yeah, there's all different types of content. Mostly it's games, but the other categories are growing, like my category. Okay, so winding down in below. I have to people stream. Oh, you actually watch somebody and oh, yeah. I think that some streamers, once you reach a certain level and all, you can enable different types of extra little interactive things for the chat to do. I'm not to that level yet. Check down below my YouTube channel, like I do every night. Like I do every night, I upload it immediately after I'm done streaming. We thought your name. He said your name was dope. Cool. Um, Tomorrow's what? Sunday. That means temperature blanket. Yeah, temperature blankets tomorrow. I think that's it. Hey, Seagam, you tuned in right when I'm getting ready to literally sign off. As usual, you're always late to the game. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to be it for tonight. And I'm not staying on. No, I'm not staying on. Don't. There's other people in the stream that want me to stream for longer, but that's not happening. So anyway, I'm going to say goodnight, and everybody, you have a good evening, a good weekend. Well, unless I chat with you tomorrow, and happy crafting.